Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Hope you're having a good day. I hope the weather's cooperating where you are. Some people getting a lot of snow, and others don't see the snow. So, anyway, some of you might be experiencing very hot temperatures depending on where you are in the world. Okay, our lesson today is this: there is no peace in this world. And there might be little areas of peace, but overall, there's not any peace. And ever since I was a young child, I've heard the cry for world peace. And of course, we stopped hearing that years ago, unless you watch beauty pageants and the contestants, what do you wish for? I want world peace. I mean, it's almost like a joke. But I've heard that. As the world continues, though, we see less and less of peace on a broad scale. And there is a reason why we do not have peace and why there will never be peace in our world. All right, see, agreeing to disagree is not peaceful at all, but kind of pointless when you think about it. See, that's the problem. Many people have come across by such reasoning that if you do not condemn my actions, then I will not condemn your actions. And that's something there, but the problem is compromising the truth. And we just can't do that. See, with such a standard or lack thereof, we find that there can be no standard of right or wrong by which to measure ourselves. And so, in other words, everybody makes up the rules as they go, and if they want to change it, they change it, and they just have to tell everybody, oh, okay, we've changed the rules. And sometimes they change the rules before they let anybody know about it. And yeah, then dissension comes across and people start to disagree. And of course, when people disagree, there is no peace. So peace can only occur when people have a common goal or interest. And every relationship exists because of an agreement between two or more parties, to hold to a common standard. See, this standard may be as simple as a verbal agreement, or it may require legal documentation by which to hold each other accountable. But the problem in our society today is this: that one party needs to be held accountable to this standard, but do not hold me accountable to the same standard. I mean, that seems to be the way it is. Look at politics. One party may consider an action a righteous thing to do, but when the other party does the exact same thing, they cry foul and condemn such actions. See, do you see where this is heading? Of course, you're waiting for the word hypocrisy. Well, we see it. We see double standards. We see different standards applied to different people. One person does something simple and they get really punished real severely. Another person does the exact same thing, and well, we're just not going to prosecute that. I mean, why? Because there's different standards in this world. And so that's what happens. So when we bring the scale down to smaller groups and relationships, we have a much better chance of having peace in small little clusters here and there. But it's not going to happen on a worldwide basis, and we'll explain that in just a little bit. See, an example I experienced when I had my open heart surgery in the hospital really impressed me and quite frankly got me to thinking. See, as I talked with my many caregivers as I was in the CCU section for about 5 days, see, I realized they came from different backgrounds and cultures. Some of the cultures which are basically in violent conflict today somewhere in this world. Yet despite their differences, they were focused upon a common goal. And that goal was the health and care of their patients. And so you see that when people are working toward a common goal, they find a way to get along. And so it does happen. It can happen if there's a common goal. Now, in a family relationship, it can only have peace if everyone in the family works towards a common goal or standard. As a result, there is something worth holding on to and striving to keep in such a relationship. Yet when one chooses to seek a different path, there is going to be, as would happen in any relationship. And for any relationship to be at peace, there has to be an agreement or a common understanding in place. Like a husband and wife make the agreement to be faithful to each other. Yet when one strays from that agreement, there's friction, and then bad things could happen. And congregations of the church are to be prime examples of peace. After all, the Bible tells us in several places to be of the same mind, intent on one purpose, and seeking a common goal. And when we all do that, we can be at peace. The problem arises when some do not want to pursue that common goal. And yes, they pursue peace, but not at the expense of the truth. See, many have compromised the truth to maintain a form of peace. In other words, go along to get along. But when people feel their conscience violated, how can they be at peace? I mean, they're not making waves, and I do know several people who do not like the things their congregation is doing, but they do not want to make waves and cause any contention. And so they feel violated, they feel upset that it's taking place, but they don't do anything about it. They don't even leave. Sometimes they think there's not any other place to go. And so truly they do not experience peace in their relationship with their brethren. And in our society, even in our towns, when citizens do not follow certain guidelines, there's going to be friction for somebody. See, those who want to break the law will find that there are consequences for their actions, or they should. Recently, we've seen on the news that's really not taking place. And of course, there's also been for several years now an effort to ignore lawbreakers for going, so it's going to encourage further law breaking. And there really is no stopping it. If you can't set a standard and follow it, then there's no stopping. There's no limit to what degree they're going to go. And so it's just going to get worse. The end result is going to be tragic for so many people. That in so many places. Look how many people have lost their businesses because someone decided they wanted to burn it down and to damage it and destroy it and steal from it. So, yeah, I mean, all these things take place. So, folks, we're not going to have peace in our nation unless we can come together with a common goal. And really, in my opinion, about the only thing that can do that is some sort of national catastrophe. And it's got to be something more than just this pandemic we're going through. It's going to be something that's got to be really bad where we all pitch in together and do things for each other. You know, we see this in certain localized areas, like when there's a earthquake, some people come together and help each other. And in the floods that we experienced with some of the hurricanes, people joined and they helped each other. And they didn't really care if they were black or white or brown or any other color. They were just there helping people. And that's what we really want. And we want people to get along and to help each other. But why does it take a catastrophe to do that? Well, we certainly do not wish for a catastrophe, but you know what? Maybe that would be necessary. That might be something to wake people up. You know, we saw this on 9/11, 2001, after the bombings and the planes were used to create havoc. I mean, for the first time in many years, the Democrats and Republicans got together and they sang the song God Bless America on the steps of the Capitol. When was the last time they did that? I don't know if they'd ever done that. And then for a short, brief period after that, people seemed to find religion. They seemed to find God. Some of the churches started filling up more than they had experienced in many years. But after a while, when things calmed down, everybody just went back to their old ways. And so, yeah, I mean, there was just a brief moment where we all came together for a single purpose. And some of it was for finding relief for those who had been touched by this tragedy. And so, but that went away after a while. All right, so we have civil unrest in our world today. It's running rampant in a lot of our cities. And half the people in our country condemn it, and half the people champion it. sometimes these criminals are idolized. I mean, they're doing something wrong, but they get killed by the police. Okay, they go, monuments are put up for them. What were they doing? They were breaking the law. They were resisting. They weren't complying with the instructions. Put the gun down, put the knife down, or whatever. And then they're shot. And then there's a whole moral outcry and all sorts of uh, claims of racism and bigotry and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, anybody wearing the blue uniform is a racist, and anybody not wearing a blue uniform is a thug. And so you're lumping people into categories that they don't belong in. And recently, probably 98% of this country does not harbor any racial animosity towards anybody, and yet the media is trying to portray it as half and half. Half this country is racist, and half of this is victims. And so, yeah, I mean, that gets kind of ridiculous, but some people can see through all the lies in the news media. I've basically just given up watching news completely. I mean, and my life is a whole lot more simple. It's a lot easier to deal with. Now, the only solution to solve our problem is for the people to turn to God and abide by His rules. I think we can, most of us who are, if you're watching this video, you agree with that statement. Now, if you're not a Christian, you may question that statement. But this is what I see. The only solution to solve our problem is for people to turn to God and abide by His rules. I even heard a talk show host, a radio talk show host with a national radio broadcast, say something very similar to that. Turning to God is the only thing that's going to solve our problems. And so, I mean, that was amazing to hear such a thing, because most of the time this guy acts like an agnostic or even an atheist. But he said that turning people to God is the only thing that will save our country. And so I kind of agreed with that. So we need to turn to God and abide by His rules. Now, what are His rules? Be nice to everybody. Be at peace with each other. I mean, treat others as if you love them, and treat others the way you want to be treated. I mean, that sounds good, right? Well, sadly, even Jesus said there would be few who would walk that straight and narrow way. So, all we can really do is do for ourselves. We need to be at peace, follow the Bible instructions, pursue peace with all men, try and get along, but do not compromise the truth. The truth always has to be supreme and reign supreme, and the truth is what needs to be taught to people. And if people aren't going to listen, guess what? They're going to be in that category that doesn't want to abide by any rules at all. And there's a lot of people claiming that they want to believe in God, but yet their actions say they want to be of the world, and they want to act like the world. So let us determine for ourselves that we're going to follow the commands of the Bible, and we're going to strive to be peacemakers and not troublemakers. I mean, that would be nice. But I know of people who go to church, even the Church of Christ. They're troublemakers. They get out in their community, they're community activists, and they say burn it down, tear it up, and all sorts of things like that. How can that be Christian? It really can't. But you can't convince these people of that. They think because they go to the right church that they're okay with God. And some people need to really examine themselves and see if they really comply with what the Bible teaches. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. I've said enough, but this is enough, and realize there's not going to be peace in this world on a grand scale. Not unless there's some reason, some tragedy that's going to bring us all together where we're concerned about other people. As long as people are only concerned about themselves, there's not going to be any peace in this world. So consider these thoughts. Lord willing, we'll be back here again with another lesson. And you have a good day. Do something for God today. Do something more for God today than you did yesterday. And make that your goal. Do something more for God each day. I mean, put a message on Facebook. Share some Bible scriptures with your friends on Facebook. Share messages that you get from other people that are inspiring and that touch your heart, and share it with others. Do something, people. I mean, everybody, do something, and it'll be good for you, and God will be pleased. God will pay attention, because God does pay attention. So, Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.